Hey y'all, and welcome back to the newest Team LoCoFit Roundtable. I am joined today with
me,
Coach Jill. If you're watching the video, you can see her. And we're actually in the new office. So super exciting. I've wanted to do something like this for a while, but we're just not in a position to get a full space, do a full, few-year lease, whatever. But there's actually this thing called like co-working. So a lot of people are gonna be like, yeah, obviously we know. But for people who don't know what it is, there are basically offices where you can get leases for a co-working space. So there's basically lots of tables, chairs, couches, the whole deal. They have amenities too, printing, like whatever, right? And then there's also these these meeting rooms. And I told the girl like what I wanted, like, hey, my goal is to start doing some in-person consults. So hey, everybody here is first to hear. I will be doing in-person consults in Tampa. And then I was like, hey, I want to do some of those and then also record podcasts with my team and have meetings. So she's like, yeah, you can rent out these conference rooms and it's perfect. So we're actually in here. I'm super excited. And this really fancy background is all nice. I do love it. There's like two rooms that I really like. So either this one or the other one has like this cool wood background.
Like the work environment here is just like really cute.
Yeah,
so.
I'm super happy. I came into like a test day, and then yesterday was like my first real day, and I really liked it, and I've just been really productive basically outside of the house. And I know that you've done that too recently. We should probably do a podcast on that, like honestly, just productivity.
That's like a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
I feel like I've just been like, my productivity has just like shot through the roof, just like getting out of my apartment and into like a new environment.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pros with working remotely, working from home, working when you're traveling, but when you're in a good groove, like at not traveling or you're home or whatever, like sometimes you can just get really stuck and distracted at home. I know that's what I do too, especially because we have to use social media a lot. But I almost feel like when you're in a place like this, you're not gonna like overuse it, because then it's like, oh, everybody's gonna be staring at me like I'm not working. That's at least how I look at it.
I'm not gonna come here just to like scroll through my phone.
Exactly.
It like forces me to just keep my phone in my bag, get my work done, and then that's that. Exactly.
So I'm super excited, and I'll definitely be talking more about the in-person stuff in the future, but for now you're going to be seeing cool podcast recordings in this fancy room. So if you're wondering where we're at, if I change my house, no, this is a new place. So today I wanted to talk about best foods to eat on show day, because I actually did like a little Q&A series on my Instagram, and I got this question, and obviously competition season is picking up, so I wanted to dive into this because of course this is something that's really pertinent to all of our clients, and I just really want to distinguish quickly between physique and performance sports. So getting on stage, and I know this person was asking for physique reasons, but we can't ignore performance related stuff either, right? So performance, powerlifting, Ride like a weight cut, talk on that, but really any performance sport. So CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, even stuff like jiu-jitsu, any kind of sport, literally any other sport besides a physique sport, this is going to matter. So I want to touch on that first, and then we can really dive into like the nitty-gritty of like the physique competition stuff. So first of all, for performance sports, there's going to be some that are going to have a 24-hour weigh-in, there's going to be some that have a 2-hour weigh-in, and then there's going to be some that have no weigh-ins, right? Like I don't think, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't think that CrossFit has like weight classes, for example, right? But obviously something like powerlifting is gonna have a weight class, jiu-jitsu is gonna have a weight class, clearly like those things make sense. You can't be fighting somebody who's it's gonna depend
10 times bigger than you.
It's gonna depend on the and I'm flying. If you saw the video, I'm gonna eat shit. You can't, every competition is gonna be a little bit different, but in any case, so you have to understand kind of the weigh-in situation, and if you've cut weight or if you're just kind of walking into it, and if you're interested more in hearing about weight cuts, go to that podcast that me and Rye did.
I'm sure I can remember the episode number, but
yeah, come on. You're our podcast manager.
I'm like behind it all. I should know.
Fucking slacking. All right, I'm gonna fire you. Just kidding. I have nobody else to replace your job.
This is my last episode. Everyone. It was nice seeing you all.
Nice talking to you guys. So whatever podcast episode that was, we did one, and it was really good. We talked all about kind of weight cuts. So definitely go check that out. But basically, the goal for a performance event is going to be to fuel for performance, but you can't eat so much that you're going to feel sick. And obviously there's a huge difference between something like powerlifting versus something like CrossFit, right? So, and we talked about this in that episode, like, you want to be bloated for a powerlifting meet, right? Like you want to be really full because that helps your leverages, and you're also doing one attempt. Well, not one, but you're trying to go heavy for like one, right? If you're doing a CrossFit event, that's several hours, and you're jumping around, flipping around, doing all this crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Not need breakfast, coming back up to say hi after the meet.
Not trying to have that happen. And something like a combat sport, no, right? So the goal,
just like a punch in the gut. Like,
you're done. Little neon belly action, not happening. So really, the thing here is to understand, like, you need to eat for performance, but just maintain. So ideally, eating enough beforehand so that, like, when you actually get to the meet or the event, you're not really focused too much on that. And one thing to focus on, though, is hydration and electrolyte balance. That's going to be super, super important. And especially, again, going back to like a CrossFit example, just because I feel like that's so extreme, like there's so much going on, you're going to be sweating a ton, and you need to be staying on top of like your hydration and your electrolyte balance. Especially, like, I had friends from First Form, they went down and did an event, like a 3-day event, 2 or 3 day event in Miami, and it was like hot. Literally, I watched their stories and I was hot watching them. I was like, oh my god,
I think it was Wadapalooza, right?
Something like that. I don't know
in the loop, but
I don't know shit about CrossFit, but I do know that we have a lot of friends who do it, and it's extremely taxing. And like I said, I could literally see the heat just in the events. So that's gonna be really important, like knowing, or are you doing something that's inside and you only have to be kind of on for a few hours. So those are just things to consider. So really just what not to do here. And again, the whole point of this podcast is not to be about performance stuff, but I had to touch on that, is just don't eat too much to where you feel sick, and kind of, you should really have nailed down your nutrition before you ever get to a meet, like, or a match or whatever, fight, whatever it might be. Don't be trying new stuff on that day. And that's going to loop into the physique competition stuff, which is the original question. And what is happening on show day. So do you have any like stories you want to share for like peaking? I was like, I know the person who's done your peak, so you better be careful with what you say. But any just like funny show day stuff?
For me, oh my god, it's been a while. My coach is like, she actually like makes me deplete in peak week, and that's kind of sucks. But no, I feel like the approach itself, making sure that you're eating foods that digest well, especially, through peak week itself, you don't want to be introducing any new foods, but show day itself, it's good to ensure that you're incorporating foods that obviously like digest well and you feel good eating, nothing that will bloat you or cause any like crazy GI stuff happening on show day. That would be the absolute worst thing ever.
And that goes back to like, you should have already nailed this down beforehand, right? And really the whole thing so show day is one part of it, and it is important, but the actual peak itself, I would say, is more important. The whole goal, if you've actually peaked properly, is to wake up ready, right? Like your goal is to wake up ready, and you're just basically, I always like to say, we're eating to maintain. Now, if somebody is kind of behind the ball, meaning they're a little bit flat and we need to fill them out more, we can do that. If they're a little bit spilled over, we can pull back. But the goal really is like, hey, you wake up, you're on the money, and now we're just kind of eating to maintain. And that's where understanding, obviously, like your client is really important, and there's so many factors that go into this. But yeah, show day should be easy to digest foods. You don't want to have anything in there that you're like, hey, like this has kind of caused a problem, or, and we like to write in, so typically we have, guidelines for our clients on like what to eat, but on show day, it's very particular. And we say, hey, we want you to be eating X foods. And we send out, we have a pre-peak tracker, and it says like, do you have any issues with these foods? And some clients do, you know what I mean? Like on there, and these aren't like a special magical list of foods, but some clients will say, hey, I can't eat X, or I can't do Y, I don't digest this well. So like, just what are some of our top recommendations?
Well, normally it's, something, lighter protein, moderate fat, higher carbs. So for protein, it's usually steak, eggs, any kind of lean cuts of meat. For maybe like pre-stage or something kind of to hold you over until you actually, start getting ready to go on stage, some rice cakes, peanut butter, honey jam, that kind of stuff. And then for carbohydrates, stuff that also like just you look good after you ingest. You know, that's kind of something you'll figure out with your coach beforehand, hopefully. I kind of like to throw a refeed at my clients here and there if they can use it, and really just focus on, okay, keep this to, you know, rice or potatoes or stuff that we're going to use on show day. So those would be the carbs, you know, jasmine rice, potatoes, stuff like that.
Yeah, rice is very hypoallergenic, meaning that a lot of people don't have issues with it. So I'm really big on rice. So whether it's jasmine rice, cream of rice, rice cakes, whatever it is. And now there's some people who can't tolerate that, and then we have to understand that. Potatoes are another really good one. And a lot of clients will send them the sheet, and then they're like, well, I haven't really been eating a lot of that because I've been dieting. But that is where, you know, trying stuff on refeed days is really helpful. And obviously the goal for a prep is to have clients using refeeds, but some clients just can't use refeeds, you know what I mean? So that's where we're, right now. Yeah, Jill's dying. I'm just kidding. She's like, nervous laugh. No, but you know, there are certain clients where it's like, hey, we have to push now. There will be a point where I say, hey, you know, we're going to throw in a refeed here and let's see how you respond and take pictures, you know, for 3 days afterwards and figure that out. And I'm very, very particular with that for certain clients. If we're keeping them in and I know that you can tolerate carbs, no problem, that's fine. But some people, like you, can't really tolerate carbs a lot. So that's why.
This has actually been something new for my prep this time around, just because I feel like last time we prepped in 2018, we just didn't really add refeeds back in because I just couldn't really tolerate them that much. And then this time around, it's like, you know what, you're moving at a good rate, and then you threw a few refeeds at me during the holidays. I had a couple of untracked meals, so that's pretty cool. You know, just it shows like a lot of things just change between preps.
And just knowing too, like, you know, refining your eye as a coach. Hey, okay, now would be a good time to push. Now would be a good time to pull back. And there's, you know, sometimes. And that's why you want to do it with enough time. I'm not going to say, hey, Jill, like, go eat 4 times the amount of carbs today. Like, that's not a good plan. But having something that is very calculated, that you're not going to get that email
from me. That's not what I
signed
up for.
You're like, I'm fucking leaving.
Wait, that coach said I can eat 400 grams of carbs a day.
And if you don't get the joke, please refer back to our other podcast.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. We were just really plugging the shit on the podcast, but we do not know the numbers, so just don't add us for that. So yeah, so again, for most people, it's going to be a little bit lighter protein, moderate fats, and then, you know, higher carbs is typically what we're going to do. Now, I have had clients where I've had to use keto during their prep, so how would that look? And I actually had to consult with, you know, another great coach, John Gorman, about this. And because he's done a lot of keto preps with clients, so the first time I ever had a client who was not just low carb, but was actually keto, I said, well, what are we going to do, right? So for somebody who's on keto, it's going to be, you know, obviously water and electrolyte. Water and electrolyte balance is going to be, you know, critically important. It's important for everybody, but it's going to be critically important for a client who is, you know, on a ketogenic diet. But for this situation, basically like using strategic refeeds and then seeing how many days it takes for them to like look their best, right? And not pretty much this is like true for all clients. But with somebody who is doing keto, you need to make sure, because they haven't had carbs in a long time, that if you give them even 2-3 times the amount, that might just be really bad, and then it'd be super, super watery. So what we actually were doing was, you know, I would try to be very conservative. I'd say, hey, okay, like, you know, do this refeed, and then I want to see over the next few days. And then we basically found out that she could handle 2 refeeds in a peak week with very specific foods and, you know, GDAs at every meal, so glucose disposal agents at every meal. And then she was good to go and looked awesome. And we actually, for when she turned pro, the day before, actually, we done a refeed earlier in the week, and then we did one the day before, so like Friday. I can't remember if it was Friday, Saturday show, but so Friday night, let's say Friday whole day, wake up Saturday, and then what to eat on peak, what to eat for the show, right? Like, hey, what do you do now? It was just protein and fat. We did no carbs on show day because she already, again, woke up, and now it was kind of just tapering back down, and then everything popped really well. So you can still use carbs in a keto peak week. It will depend on the client. And you just have to kind of know how long it's going to take them to really flush out those carbs and not look watery, because some people will really, really puff up with them. Other people, if they're lean enough and have enough muscle, you're like, it looks awesome. So yeah, that basically figure out kind of the foods that work. That was just our list of suggestions. Again, like there's clients who like, you know, I said rice is super hypoallergenic, and there's some people like, hey, every time I eat rice, I feel really bad. I had a client who like couldn't eat honey, and like specific types of honey actually I found out have higher levels of FODMAP, so some people don't handle that well. Some people can't eat red meat, or some people can't eat not red meat, you know, like, so there's just so many different things, that this is not like a set list of foods, but we just like those as kind of like really, really basic options, and we kind of tinker from there. Of course, water and sodium are really important. And what would you say that the hardest thing about water is on show day?
People who just decide not to drink.
Yeah.
That's gonna be real bad. You're just making it harder for yourself to get a pump and all that jazz. So you definitely do not want to cut water. Same thing with sodium. Don't cut sodium. No. If you're wondering why you're not getting a pump on show day, that's probably why. And that's probably the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make with just peak week and show day.
Yes. Huge issues. Or people will come to us from other coaches, hey, I cut water 2 weeks out. Excuse me?
I remember in my
first of all, how are you not fucking dead? It's a better question, but
exactly.
All right.
Yeah, I remember actually in our first peak week, back when, like my first season with you, well, my first season ever, but one of the guys at my home gym was like, oh, like you should use this like water pill, like flush out all the water. Like he thought like our peak week plan was absurd. And I thought it was so funny. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like that just sounds like torture. You know, I'm not trying to die right before I step on stage. But yeah, it's crazy how many people still do that.
And not to say that there's, you know, this is a whole different conversation as far as like getting into diuretics and things of that nature. And obviously people do use them very successfully, but really the thing that we used to see the most, and probably still do, is the combination of using a diuretic, either over the counter. I have used over the counter diuretics with some clients who are just super, super watery, but we still have a lot of water in. So a lot of people will use prescription strength diuretics, which is a totally different ballgame, with no water, with no sodium, and they load potassium. And that is how you have a heart arrhythmia, and that is how you pass out backstage and have all these issues. And it's really, really sad. And thankfully, I feel like people are waking up to that, but still people do that all the time, you know, and not only is it dangerous, you will look worse. Like on show day, I'm most likely manipulating water and salt more than I am food. Because again, remember the goal is if we've done our jobs as coaches to peak people properly, they're waking up pretty much good to go. And the water and sodium can make such a huge difference. Somebody sends me pictures, you know, they're like, hey, I'm 2 hours out. This is what I've eaten. This is what I've drank so far. I'll be like, hey, go have 16 more ounces of water and a quarter teaspoon of salt. Just take it. And send me pictures in 30 minutes. And they'll look completely different. So that's the kind of stuff that really matters. And like, that's where obviously having a trained eye takes time, you know, to build up. But it is something that is so, so important. And you cannot look past sodium and water. Biggest thing I see with water on show day though, and I've dealt with this too, is that you just don't want to drink because you're really busy and you got like 18 appointments and you don't want to like fucking piss on yourself and the hands
like, I don't want to miss lineup because I have to go to the bathroom again and but that's just something you kind of get used to, I guess, like as you just go through your show days.
You basically, you have to make it a priority to drink on show day, because even if you're somebody who drinks a lot of water, it's going to be really easy to not drink on show day. So we like to give our clients measurements and say, hey, have at least this much
with your meals, and then have this much between meals, and then as you get closer to stage, just sip on water until then. And then afterwards, of course, if you're thirsty, you know, drink. But
giving people amounts is really helpful, because otherwise if you didn't, then they just wouldn't really drink. And another thing too we get a lot of questions about is, can I have coffee?
Yes.
I have coffee? Jill's like, excuse me? So anyone who doesn't know, Jill is like a crazy caffeine addict. She's getting better. She's in, you know, she went to Caffeine Anonymous.
To decaf.
Wow.
For my home coffee.
Okay, I was like, I just saw you drinking a goddamn nitro brew. Get out of here with your lies.
Well, they don't have decaf cold brew. I checked, okay? They looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, you know what? I know it's sad. Just give me the regular, okay?
Oh, I switched to decaf. All right. Anyways, I'm glad you're doing better, but
I'm in recovery.
You're in recovery? There probably should be like a Caffeine's Anonymous for fitness people. Seriously, the amount of caffeine that people drink between like bangs and coffees and just like other stuff, pre-workout.
I'm not even kidding right now. Like, if you want a story from like the past couple weeks, I've had an eye twitch for 2 weeks straight.
Is that why you cut back?
Yeah. I was so frustrated. I was like doing cardio and my fucking eye is twitching. And I'm like, I'm gonna rip my eyeball out. And I'm texting my mom. I'm like, how do you get rid of eye twitches? She's like, I don't know, eat a banana or something. And she's like, I looked it up. It's probably your caffeine intake based on, you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, that's bullshit. I switched to decaf. I really like cut down on like the monsters and stuff. The eye twitch is gone.
Oh wow!
Thankfully.
Big surprise.
I'm back to normal. I actually remember what life is like without the freaking eye twitch now. So
it is pretty crazy how much caffeine does affect us. But in any case,
that was a first for me.
You can totally have coffee on show day. But again, if you've been having black coffee all prep, don't go get some crazy coffee.
Oh, no.
Keep it black. Just drink that.
Now is not the time to try out the new frappuccino.
No, now is not the time to add creamer and whatever. Just have black coffee if you really want it. But yes, that is totally fine. And the last point I just wanted to hit on was just not to shitload with food. And that's the term that I use.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot, and it's typically from people who have really, really, really been depleted their whole diet, so they can actually tolerate it, which seems crazy, but they can tolerate it because literally they are so depleted that they go from eating basically trace carbs like from vegetables for months, which bad idea, but okay. And then their coach, and I had first-hand experience with this. It was one of my friends at Florida State. She was doing, this was like one of the only people that I knew did shows, obviously it wasn't like as big back then, nor was it as big for girls. So she, she'd been prepping, stupid bro bullshit, the typical bad prep, right? Like, munching on zucchini all day, like that kind of a thing. And then I go to her show with her. The night before, her coach tells her, go get a steak, potato, bread, the whole deal, and then, dessert, all this. And I'm like, even at this point, like, I didn't know a lot because, I was still learning stuff, but I was like, this just doesn't seem right. And then the next morning, it was like, go have pancakes and all this stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with those foods.
Yeah, I still see that, approach for the most part here and there.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with those foods. But what's wrong with it is, like, you haven't had that and you have no idea how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
I would much rather somebody eat jasmine rice, steak that they've prepared, even if you go out and have it, right? But like, whatever. And something that is like single ingredient items, like not all this combined stuff.
Stuff that you can kind of rely on, that like
reliable. It's a good word.
Digest well. Especially if you've been, like you said, those typical bro preps. You're going months at a time eating a certain amount of certain types of food. Yeah. You go out for IHOP the morning of show day, and then your stomach's distended. You have a stomach ache. You don't know what could happen when you introduce that kind of stuff. So it's more reliable, and you're more in control this way. Just having a a basic day of show foods.
Yeah, potatoes and rice are a lot different than multi-ingredient and even something like. I mean, it's not like I eat them all the time, but like I can go out pretty much to eat and eat anything and like not have an issue, right? And I'm somebody who's obviously not lean, not been dieting, so I have a higher threshold, right? But even we went out to breakfast like last week or the week before, and literally it was just so dense that I ate, and like Ryan ate them too, and we were like, holy shit, like this was so much. And like, imagine if I had told a client to go eat that, you know what I mean? Versus another one that wouldn't have made them feel like that, but you have no idea because you're not in control of that. So just something to consider, like if your coach is, well, there's a lot of issues there leading up to it, but I would just say that on show day, do not go and eat anything crazy. Do not go eat anything out of control. Very simple foods that are easy to digest and very, reliable is kind of what like a good term would be. So hopefully this was helpful, you guys. I really wanted to distinguish, obviously, a little bit between physique and performance, but really kind of nail down like what to eat on show day. Again, this is not a perfect list by any means, but we do use this typically with clients and kind of make changes as needed with them. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And as always, if you can,
10-star review.
Yes.
We only accept 10 stars.
But really it does help us if you leave a review. That way more people can see the show and get access to this information.
Yes.
And I hate asking, but I'm gonna ask, and I hope that you guys can do that for us. And if you're interested in, listening to more podcasts, obviously subscribe here. You can go to our site and read a ton of articles. Jill's been killing the articles lately, their whole Science Simplified series. And then, we have a bunch of different programs and books on there. And then also, if you want to apply for coaching, that's where you're doing that too. Yes. So teamlocofit.com. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.